Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of PDPMO, or Please Don't Piss Me Off. My name is Richard, and I will be your host for the next however long this takes. Um, First off, I would just like to thank everyone who has liked and subscribed and commented, sent me support through the interwebs. I really appreciate it. It's encouraging me to keep doing this. Keep the requests coming. I'm actually quite excited to inform you guys that today's episode is my first one based on a request. Yeah, I'm excited. The movie that I will be reviewing today is the Amazon Prime movie release of The Tomorrow War, starring Chris Pratt. I hadn't actually seen this movie yet, so I got to do some homework and watch it. Before I get into what I thought of the movie, again, I'm just going to go over what I'm going to try to avoid spoilers. For the first section of the movie, I'm going to talk about the general plot, just stuff you would see on the trailer and whatnot, what the movie's about, and then give you my general review of the movie before I get into specifics. That way, that if you want to hear what I have to say about the movie, but you haven't seen it, you can do that. And then if you don't want to know anything about it, you can check out. So yeah, the Tomorrow War. The movie is like I said, it's got Chris Pratt, and he stars as a ex-soldier trying to work in the private sector when future humans come back 30 years to inform us in present day that humans are on the verge of extinction, and they're fighting a war against aliens. And so they're here to draft soldiers to send forward to fight. Interesting premise. I love time travel stuff in movies. I love like fights with aliens. So yeah, I won't say I was looking forward to this movie, because as you know, people who know me or have been watching on this site, because of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I no longer look forward to movies anymore. That movie broke me. So I try to go into a movie with as blank a slate as possible. That way I'm not, really looking forward to it. I'm not like, this movie's going to suck. I just go in and just watch what they give me so I can make an unbiased review. Having said that, I will say that for me, this movie was okay. Wasn't great. It wasn't awful. But if I had gone in with my hopes high, I would have been disappointed. However, if I had gone in expecting the movie to be a piece of garbage, I would have been pleasantly surprised. So yeah, it was okay. Chris Pratt was being Chris Pratt. I mean, there's not a lot of range. I'm not saying the actor doesn't have range, but when he's being the Chris Pratt character, we get what we get. So yeah, the movie was all right. So for those of you who want to go in and watch this movie just without knowing anything more about it, check out now. Please click like and subscribe. I hate that I have to do that, but that's how this stuff spreads. So yeah, I'm gonna get into the spoilers now. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll hope to see you on the next one. So now, for those of you who are still with me and want to get into the nitty gritty of the Tomorrow War, I'm going to try and focus on the strengths. I'll tell you right now that every time I try to focus on the strength of this movie, I get pulled to a negative. So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth, but I'm going to try and focus on the strengths. One of the strengths I found in this movie was the character relationships. Like between Chris Pratt and his daughter. I thought that was good. I liked the dynamic. J.K. Simmons plays his estranged father. I like the dynamic there. Um, I think for me, the strongest performance was actually Yvonne Strahovski, who plays the future adult version of Chris Pratt's daughter Miri. I thought she was the strongest in the entire movie, and when you're in a movie that has J.K. Simmons in it, that's saying a lot. J.K. Simmons was like J.K. Simmons, like kind of like the Chris Pratt thing. And it's too bad because I felt he was underutilized. If you look at, say, if you've ever seen Whiplash or the TV series Oz, or even his like iconic portrayal of J. Jonah Jameson from the Spider-Man franchise, you know what he's capable of when given a chance. And this movie, he just wasn't. It was kind of just what you'd expect from a strange father role. Um, the issue I have with Tomorrow War is the the tone. Hollywood is really guilty of this. When you're dealing with like an extinction level event, I don't need to be made to laugh. And Hollywood feels the need to put that in. It's like they've seen the success of Marvel movies, and now every movie has to be like every end of the world movie has to be like, oh, but it's really funny too. Um, it doesn't have to be that way. If you're going to make a dark movie, then make a dark movie. If you're going to deal with something as serious as like humans' extinction, then deal with humans' extinction. Let us feel it every time. Say like the character of Charlie, who's basically the comedic relief comedy sidekick. Every time he would say something or do something that's supposed to be funny, it pulls me out of the movie. I lose the tension and the concern I have for the characters. But anyway, so I knew I would do this. I was supposed to be focusing on the strengths. So the script is decent. It's nothing groundbreaking, but I'm not expecting that in a movie like this. I liked that they didn't try to over-explain the time jump. Um, they basically explained it as like two rafts. Basically, time only goes one way forward, and so they can jump back and forth, but they can't jump to different parts. They can only jump straight across. Uh, so basically, to the correlating time in the future. I like that because that puts them in a very limited capability of what they can and can't do. But just like switch your brain off. You don't need to try and figure out like all the things with like time jump and stuff like that, because you could literally spend half a movie explaining how your time jump science is believable, and there's always going to be somebody on the sidelines being like, "Oh yeah, but you forgot to take into account these discrepancies." Just stop. Just they can jump through time. That's it. Um, I did like one of the things I really did like was they explained the paradox that I'm about to get into. One of the criteria for people being sent forward is that you had to have died before the alien war. And I like that they address that in the script, because that way you avoid the paradox of running into your future self, which that's a lot of times that's when people are like, but this would happen. So they took care of that by establishing that you had to have died prior to the war. And they also did that coming back. All the people, all the soldiers and stuff who came back were young. They were younger than 30, because that way they hadn't been born yet. That way they can't run into their past selves. And so that I thought was really intelligent from a writing standpoint, which makes it so frustrating when other writing points aren't handled with as much care. It's like they put thought into it, and they had like some smart people who were like, hey, we can do this. And then just there are just some things that just are egregious. But again, I'm trying to focus on the strengths. So The creature design, I like the creature design. I will say they kind of felt a little like the bugs from Starship Troopers. In fact, this entire movie felt like Starship Troopers. Um, uh, they're fast, they're angry, they're aggressive. They have this armor that makes them tough to kill, so you got to shoot them a bunch of times to take them down. And a lot of the action sequences felt very Starship Troopers. Um, and yeah, with it's like they took Starship Troopers and they moved the satirical element out of it, and they put in like just regular humor. And again, it doesn't match with the tone of the film. Independence Day was the same way. Future episode, I'm actually going to review Starship Troopers and Independence Day in the same review. Not that they're like in the same universe or anything, but for me, I have a correlation between the two that I think is kind of fun. Anyway, back to Tomorrow War. The creature design, like lots of teeth, lots of claws. They basically look like white four-legged spiders from the bugs from Starship Troopers. They did add this tentacle type thing, which like a stinger, and that can fire these barbs, which I thought was neat because that makes them dangerous from distance. But again, every time we talk about something good, I got to talk about something bad. One of the sequences there, Chris Pratt is leading his team through a science lab on a search and rescue mission. And there are all these barbs that these things have shot, because obviously there's, these things have gone through the science lab. And a lot of the barbs are in like clusters, which makes you think that these tentacle things can shoot in bursts, like, and there's a bunch of barbs sticking in the walls or people. But then when our heroes come face to face, these things only fire them one at a time. And their aim isn't very good. And there's a couple of sequences where, like, literally our hero just like steps to the side to avoid them. So that kind of, I know that's nitpicky, but when you establish something in your own movie that this is how these things fire, and then you immediately undo that, I'm kind of like, why would you do that? Like, just anyway, again, that's just nitpicky. So I will focus on the main positive for me, which is the performance of Yvonne Strahovski. I'm not too familiar with her as an actress, but I will be looking forward. But I am looking forward to seeing what she's going to do going forward. One scene in particular, she's an adult, and her and Chris Pratt, her father, are on a beach, and she's talking to him about the pain that he caused in her past, and it was really believable. That's the kind of realness that I want to see in a movie like this, not the funny one-liners or the goofiness. She really elevated that scene, and I think Chris Pratt's performance in that particular scene was elevated because of it. I thought the two of them, that was their best. Just jumping back for a second, when I mentioned the old and the sick being sent forward because they had to have died before the alien war, one of my big complaints was, again, Hollywood does this, they don't make the reactions of the humans real. I'm just gonna stop talking about the strengths, because now I need to talk about the weaknesses. When these people are sent forward, they're not soldiers. The vast majority of them are not soldiers. They're civilians. And so they're given very, very little training because, an attack happens, so they have to be sent earlier. And so these people who have no combat experience, they're just regular Joes, like, guy who works at a gas station, truck driver, stuff like that. And so in the initial attack in the stairwell from the aliens, like these things, they're terrifying, and it's easy for us to sit back as an audience member and just be like, "Alien, shoot them." Um, but what I'm dying to see in Hollywood, and they have done it occasionally, but usually they go with what they did in Tomorrow War. What I'm dying to see is real reactions, and I know some of you are going to be like, "How can you expect reality in a movie involving an alien attack?" And I'm like, but I'm not talking about the aliens. I'm talking about human reaction. Because realistically, if a regular person were to see one of these things, it would be blind panic. It would be like freezing. It would be dropping your gun. But in this movie, it was like, all right, shoot them. Let's do this. Reload. Like they tried to address it a little bit with Charlie running away and kind of like running down the stairs and kind of screaming, but it was for comedic effect. I want to see like terror. I want to see like, oh my God, I don't want to die. Like people knocking each other out of the way, trying to save themselves. That's what would happen. Even Chris Pratt's character, who's like ex-military, like special forces, he's never seen anything like this. There was no like, Jesus Christ, what the hell is that? Like it was just like, here they come, ba 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 ba. It was that. That's unnecessary for me. I would just like to have a little bit more realism when it comes to human reactions to something like this. If you like bring in like combat psychologists or whatever and talk about what people would actually do in these situations, just as advisors to the film, I think would make movies like this better. Yeah, everyone just became an instant soldier, and everyone started like shooting back, and it made no sense. And then later, there's two of the civilians, like one of them is wounded, and they're like, we'll hold them back, and so the rest of them run off. The two are staying there just shooting, and the woman starts like yelling, like I guess that's what Hollywood thinks people do, is they yell. And then the planes come in to bomb the area, and the survivors run away. And I don't mind the scene, like I get it, but there was no character development on these two particular characters, so we didn't really care that they were about to die. And like super slow motion is like, it's like they were trying to force us to care, but we didn't really know who these people were. Plus, like, we'll hold them off. They didn't really, like, they were shooting, but the aliens were running full speed. They just didn't escape the blast, so it didn't make any sense for them to stay. Like if you had actually like slowed them down and allowed the main characters to get away, like that would have felt somewhat sacrificial as opposed to just mindless. So anyway, so yeah, our heroes go to this facility like in the middle of the ocean, where Muri is working on trying to find a serum, a toxin to wipe out all the aliens. And this is where the movie, for me, kind of blows it, because another thing that Hollywood does that drives me crazy is they take really smart characters and then make them really dumb all of a sudden. She explains to her father, Chris Pratt, that if they can find this serum extracted from the female alien, that they'll be able, hopefully, to create some sort of toxin that'll wipe them all out. And so she tells her father that what she needs him to do is to take the serum, if they find it. Spoiler alert, they find it. To take the serum and go back into the past and wipe out the aliens before the war begins. Smart. I get that. That's a great idea. So then the aliens end up attacking, and they're running, and all of a sudden, uh, Muri gets wounded badly by one of these barb things. They're not going to be able to get out of this. And so Chris Pratt does the whole, I'm not going to leave you. And then all I could think was, dude, she just told you that you have to leave. Like, you have to go back in time and stop the war from happening. So she's not going to get injured because she's not in a war. That's how you save her. And then he's like, I'm going to jump back and then I'm going to come back here for you. It's like, that's not what she said. She said, just much like Sigourney Weaver in Alien, listen to the smart woman and there's a chance you can survive. I mean, but hey, let's face it, like, men not listening to women, right? We're the worst. Maybe that's the most realistic thing in this. He didn't listen to a word she said. So anyway, the alien queen or whatever attacks, and Muri basically is falling into like this sea of aliens. She's about to be ripped apart, and Chris Pratt like dives after her. And it's big cinematic, but all I can think, like, I know it's trying to be dramatic, but all I can think of is, dude, just go back, stop the wars. This won't happen. So as he's diving after her, the time portal thing activates and he gets sent back to the past. And this is where a smart character gets dumb, because Chris Pratt throughout this entire movie has been portrayed as a smart person. He's a science teacher. He's trying to get a job in the private sector as a scientist. And so he wakes up in the past, our present, clutching the serum. And the soldiers, greet him. They're like, the time link, it broke. And he's like, well, I need to get back there because I'm supposed to like use this serum to wipe out the aliens like in the future. And I'm just like, okay, seriously, that's not what she said. She said, go back to the past and wipe them out there. And so I'm just like, why are you so dumb? And then he's lying there and he puts his head back and he's like, I failed you. It's like, in that you didn't listen to her, I guess you failed her, but just do what she... Anyway, so that's the end of Act 2. And then Act 3 comes along and this movie goes weird. I mean, you've got the obligatory, like, we have to go find the mothership kind of thing, and it's in northern Russia. And of course, now the dad, who's a conspiracy theorist, has to come in and fly this plane that still somehow makes it into Russia undetected. But like, anyway. So then, they have to throw in the, global warming's part of the problem because the aliens are actually here and they're thawing out. And I get it, and make it political for no reason. So then they go in and, as always, it doesn't go well, and lots of death, explosions, more death. And then, of course, one gets out. Because, of course, I could have told you that before they even got there. Someone gets out, and of course, it's the female, a female, probably the same female that they had to try and kill in the future. Because there's, much like Aliens, great movie, there seems to be one queen, and then all the others are male drones. So, Chris Pratt and J.K. Simmons, father and son, they take off after this thing. And, of course, it's harder to kill than any battle previously. And you get these two guys, and they're fighting this thing, and then, like, they're at the edge of this cliff, and, like, there's a cliff, and then the two of them are, like, going back and forth with this, like, sacrificial act, like, I'm going to sacrifice myself for my son, I'm going to sacrifice myself for my father. And I'm thinking, who's it going to be, Hawkeye or Black Widow? Like, it's the same scene. Like, anyway, so this thing eventually, like, is blinded, and then Chris Pratt yells, die, and kicks it off the edge of the cliff, and it dies. The movie ends, like, typically the, aliens have been defeated, and, just standard fare, which I don't mind. But again, if I had gone in with high expectations, this movie would have pissed me off. And if I had gone in with low expectations, I would have been like, yeah. Ironically, I actually think I liked this movie a little bit less than when I started this review, like 24 minutes ago. Um, it's still okay, but those things that annoyed me are going to continue to annoy me and possibly get worse. So I might touch back on this movie in a later review of something else. But yeah, the movie didn't piss me off. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It could have been. It could have been better and should have been better. But at the end of the day, it did not piss me off, which is kind of a good thing. So thank you guys for stopping by. Keep watching movies. Keep sending them my way so I can get some more reviews out there. Um, Click like and subscribe. Sorry, it's what we have to do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing back from you. I'm looking forward to seeing these numbers grow. This has been a lot of fun for me. And I look forward to hearing your comments on this particular review if you've seen The Tomorrow War. Yeah, let me know what you thought of it. So thank you guys for stopping by, and I will see you soon.